Hello, my name is Alencia Lamb, and this is my presentation for Food Ingredient Technology, or FAS626. I'm titled The Use of Various Carbohydrates Used for Gluten-Free Bread Production. So starting off with the table of contents, first we will begin with the introduction, then move on to tapioca flour, potato starch, brown rice flour, the conclusion, and ending with the works cited. So introduction, what is a carbohydrate? A carbohydrate is an essential nutrient consisting of sugar or starches. There are two different types of carbohydrates, that being simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates. Simple carbohydrates are digested quickly and send glucose immediately to the bloodstream, whereas complex carbohydrates are digested slowly and they are released slowly into the bloodstream. The function of carbohydrates is to provide energy and fuel for the body to function via glucose conversion. It's also able to help the body function, such as relaxing or relaxation of the heart and muscles, as well as maintaining and helping to regulate body temperature. The importance of carbohydrates is that it is necessary for yeast in bread making, being that it acts as a food source for the yeast to do its job. For this presentation, the sources of carbohydrates that I will go over will be tapioca flour, potato starch, and brown rice flour. If you look to the right-hand corner, bottom corner of the screen, this is the molecular structure for carbohydrates. So tapioca flour. What is tapioca flour? It is a gluten-free starch or flour. In this case, it is interchangeable. Made from cassava root, where the starchy liquid is squished out of the root and then evaporated into its preferred form, whether it be pearls or flakes. Cassava root can actually be made into a flour itself, but whereas tapioca flour is known for its fine and smooth texture, cassava root flour is more so coarse and dense in texture. The function of tapioca flour is that it is a texture enhancer, a binding agent, and it also provides structure in baked goods. Some other functions are that it prevents crumbling in the absence of gluten in eggs. It's known for its moisture retention, and it also provides a chewy texture to baked products. In terms of air cell development, it uses carbon dioxide development at a rate of 0.320 kilograms of carbon dioxide at equilibrium per kilogram of tapioca starch or flour. Some of the pros or advantages of tapioca flour is that it is odorless and tasteless. There are also some health benefits associated with it, such as lowering blood sugar and improving glucose and insulin metabolism. Some other benefits is that it is beneficial to those with gluten intolerance. As mentioned before, it is a gluten-free starch or flour. It is also a resistant starch, meaning that it helps the good bacteria in the gut by reducing inflammation and harmful bacteria. It is able to retain its texture when frozen. It is nut-free, easily absorbed in the gut, and it can improve metabolic health. In terms of cons or disadvantages of tapioca flour or starch, it has a low nutritional value of less than 0.1% of nutrients, and it provides zero fat and protein, compared to cassava flour or cassava root flour, which is rich in fiber due to minimal processing. Unfortunately, the low nutritional value can lead to malnutrition, rickets, or goiters. It also has the potential risk of cyanide poisoning due to processing and cooking. Another con or disadvantage to tapioca flour is that it commonly has to be mixed with almond flour or coconut flour in order to maintain or gain some type of nutritional value. In terms of consumer acceptance, it is growing in popularity in the United States, even though it is more popular in Africa, Asia, and South America. It has an estimated compound annual growth rate of 5.6%, and it is expected to be a $8.1 billion market in the United States by 2033. So now moving on to potato starch. Unlike tapioca flour or starch, potato starch and potato flour are two completely different things, so it's not interchangeable in this case. But what is potato starch? It is a gluten-free starch consisting of two leucoplasts, that being amylose and amylopectin. The function of potato starch is that it is a binding agent, and it can also delay staling. Some more functions of potato starch is that it is able to retain water, it adds plasticity to the crust, and it is able to provide a chewy texture to baked goods. Um, Air cell development is via enzymatic hydrolysis and carbon dioxide pretreatment. The pros or advantages of potato starch is there are health benefits associated with it, including potentially improving insulin sensitivity, improving digestive and colon health, as well as possibly improving weight loss efforts. And it is also a resistant starch, providing 8 grams of resistant starch per tablespoon. It is also able to tolerate very high temperatures. So some of the cons or disadvantages of potato starch is global warming, such as floods and heat waves during potato farming or production, things like that. And it can also cause bloating. Some other cons or disadvantages of potato starch is that it also has a low nutritional value. And depending on the company that's making the potato starch can either be allergen free or it can contain allergens. So now moving on to the consuming consumer acceptance. It is also growing in popularity in the United States with an expected growth of 4.5% between 2024 and 2033. The market size in 2024 in the United States was $1.5 billion, and it is expected to be $2.4 billion in 2033. So now moving on to brown rice flour. So what is brown rice flour? It is a gluten-free flour made of finely ground brown rice, containing the bran and germ of the rice kernel, and it also has a mild and nutty flavor profile. So the function of brown rice flour is that it enhances the lightness of baked goods, and it acts as a thickening agent. Um, as far as air cell development, there are two different potential ways of doing this. The first one being aerobic germination, where it produces more enzymatic activity over the course of 4 days, allowing a less dense bread with softer crumbs as well as a longer shelf life. And the second form of air cell development is bacterial hydrolytic enzymes, where alpha amylase, alpha glucosidase, and protease help to improve texture and volume of baked goods. And this leads to the production of yeast, and it creates a strong retention of CO2 or carbon dioxide during fermentation. The pros or advantages associated with brown rice flour is that it is rich in vitamins and minerals, such as iron, B vitamins, manganese, and magnesium. And it is also high in protein and fiber, which can help to lower body weight as well as reduce blood sugar. In terms of cons or disadvantages of brown rice flour, there is the potential risk of cross-contamination due to brown rice flour commonly being made in facilities where gluten products are made. Um, as far as consumer acceptance, unlike tapioca flour or starch and potato starch, brown rice flour is not widely accepted in the United States due to its texture, long cooking time, as well as poor digestion. However, it does have an estimated compound annual growth rate of 6.3% between 2024 and 2030. So, in conclusion, carbohydrates are an essential nutrient in the human diet, in either the form of sugar, such as fruit or milk, starch, such as beans or rice, or even in the form of fiber, such as whole grains, nuts, or vegetables. But consuming gluten isn't always available via bread products, being that there are those individuals who suffer with gluten intolerance or gluten allergies. So, substituting traditional gluten in bread can provide alternatives for those that suffer with intolerance, especially when it is produced in a safe environment free of contaminants. Tapioca flour or starch, potato starch, and brown rice flour are some alternatives for gluten in bread making. Some other examples of alternatives for bread production would be almond flour, corn flour or corn starch, coconut flour, and even quinoa flour. For most nutrients, if you were to choose between the three carbohydrates discussed in this presentation, brown rice is the best alternative, and it can be purchased at local retailers such as Walmart. And as mentioned before, it is high in fiber and protein, as well as manganese and magnesium, and other vitamins and minerals. And for the most accessible form of carbohydrates that was mentioned, potato starch would be the best alternative, as this can also be purchased at local retailers at Walmart. And of the three options that were mentioned, it is the most affordable form of carbohydrate. So as seen at the bottom of the presentation, the picture to the left is the molecular structure of tapioca flour. The picture in the middle is the molecular structure of potato starch, and the image to the right is the molecular structure of brown rice flour. So these are my references and my works cited, and thank you so much.